Blessings, everyone, in Jesus' name. I hope you're well. I just went through major cleansing, if you want to call it that way. Since this morning, I woke up as if there was an inner storm inside of me, not understanding what was causing it. And just a few minutes ago, as I was praying, laying down on the floor, asking the Lord to help me understand what was going on inside of me. Why was I feeling so restless and impatient and frustrated? And He brought back to my memory a very deep wound in my heart, connected to my own childhood and connected to when I first had my children. I was barely 20 years old. He exposed this deep wound that I had buried deep down inside of me. And that's what we do with our wounds, with our pain, when we don't want to deal with it or when it's too difficult to handle. We bury it. And since I was not a believer back then, I pretended everything was okay. But you see, even after 30, 40 years, the Lord does not want us to remain with any unresolved wound inside of our heart, because we cannot move on. And that thorn, that deep thorn, was still in me, hurting. That deep wound destroyed my relationship with my children, and has not allowed me to love the way I should love. But now that I have faced it, and I have repented and have serious and genuine remorse about all the wrong things that I did as a young mother, as ignorant as I was, now that I have brought it into the light and confessed it to God, all that heaviness has been lifted. All that burden has been lifted. I'm sharing this with you because you need to make peace with yourself for all the wrongs that you've done, the mistakes, the inadequacies, the things you did out of ignorance. You must bring them into the light and ask forgiveness, not necessarily to the people but in your heart and before God. And I see how the Lord does not want us to carry this unnecessary pain. He wants us to let go, forgive, be forgiven, and forget, so that we can move on, so that we can make more space in our hearts to give and receive love. Otherwise, we remain with these scars inside of us that have never healed. I encourage you, my friends, brothers and sisters, I invite you to take a deeper look into your past, into your childhood. If you are still carrying hurts from the way your parents raised you, or your siblings, the family, society, whatever it is, the hurts that you have swallowed, that you have buried deep down inside so that everything would seem okay, pretending you're strong, pretending that you can handle it. I did that for many years. I pretended that I could handle anything because I didn't want to burden anybody. I didn't want to show my weaknesses. I didn't want to ask for help. But when I met with Jesus, I surrendered everything to him. I poured out my gut to him. All my memories from an abusive childhood of pain and how much I needed to forgive. If it hadn't been for Jesus giving me grace to forgive my parents for the terrible things they did, I think I would be a very bitter, mean individual today. But he allowed me to see that they didn't know any better either. They did the best they could. They didn't have Jesus in their hearts. They were not walking in the light. And they just transferred their own pain, their own anger and bitterness that they received from their parents and so on. And, it's a merry-go-round until you stop and you become conscious. And that's what happens when you're born again. Everything changes. All darkness is brought to light. So if you are going through a storm, an inner storm, where your life seems to have no meaning whatsoever, and you cannot go on like that anymore, consider it a blessing, because it is God himself who is reaching deep down in your heart to remove the things that you refuse to deal with. He's exposing them so that now you can confront them and say, I don't want this anymore. Take away all my burdens. And He will. And when your heart is lighter, when it begins to heal, you're able to help others, to have compassion. But if you don't allow God's hand to expose all those inner wounds that you have kept for so long, how will you be able to understand someone else in the same predicament? It is the way of the cross, my friends. There is no other path. It is a path of facing, looking close. It's not a path of escaping. God will not allow you to escape. He will keep bringing it through circumstances until you accept to let Him heal you. Well, I pray this testimony will help someone. God bless you.